Why aren't you rather, gathering some money? Because yes, free, the senior high school is free.
Yes.
University education is not free.
Yes.
So why not start a fund, a trust, a small trust that you are paying in all that 3 or 4 years they are necessary, so
we are living in Ghana.
you get there and then you won't be stuck.
A moment,
yes.
Before you continue. A moment. You see, the policy is a good policy, but sustainability is the issue. Okay. The issue you're talking about, free education, people going for free and all that, it is true.
Yes.
Have you forgotten that it is on the same?
Please hold on to this fire. We need to go for a quick break. When we come back, we will pick up the fire and then, heat. Yes, stay tuned. This morning show. We're having our main discussion on President Mahama's very recent ministerial appointments, and I'm doing this with Clement Yabankwe and Randolph Fifa Owari. Yes, our phone lines are open now, so you can call and then share your opinions on the ministerial appointments if you think they deserve it, your hopes for them, what you're expecting as well. You can share your comments to our WhatsApp number displayed on your screen or onto our Facebook and YouTube live streams as well, and I will read them out here. So we were talking about the education policy, about the heat was coming. I hope we are calm now.
Oh, there's no problem. There's nothing to fear.
So yes, the policy about free tuition for first-year students in the university, we were asking if it was feasible, and you were talking about sustainability.
Yes. So the issue that I raised, it wasn't in vacuum. Not that I do not so support it, but mine is sustainability of that program. Do we have enough funding? And what is the designated funding for that? Is it sustainable? The other aspect too, do we have enough infrastructure that if we are to do the free something first a year, assuming even those additional 10% of the senior high school graduates, they even enroll on this policy, does all these institutions have enough infrastructure to accommodate? Because currently, I know there are places, all these schools are choking. Even currently, I mean, nursing and education, they have caps.
Yeah.
They are caps. They have capped all of them because the numbers, they cannot contain all the numbers.
Yeah.
And so when we are bringing policies like this, it shouldn't be just about the political will or the political way of doing it, but then we must ask questions.
Okay.
And that is my question, that if we do not have the dedicated funding, we should be very particular about it. Okay. And also its sustainability. And do we have enough infrastructure?
Okay, thank you for your question.
There are other challenges within the junior high and basic education.
Yes,
which
it is a ripple effect.
Exactly, we need to fix them.
Let's hear Clement's take on this as well.
Okay, so Ira, I think it's still on Harry Drusu and Education Ministry.
Yeah.
Yesterday, after his swearing in, he went to the Ministry of Education, his first time. Okay. He went there. And he addressed the press on one or two issues, of which I just want to speak to it. He said, per his research, the number of people who are from 2017 to 2023, people who have enrolled on free SHS, there are 3.9 million students. But data presented to them suggested there are over 5.1 million beneficiaries. So you can see there's a difference of over 1 million, 1.2 million.
So his research, his own personal capacity.
Let's Clement's land. Thank you.
So from his research, that is why I use the word, from his research, he found out that there are 3.9 million students who have actually benefited from free education from 2017 to 2023. But per the data that is out to Parliament, they said, because he said there are public claims and even parliamentary records suggesting 5.1 million beneficiaries. Okay. So I think if this happens to be a claim, now he is the Minister of Education, we expect to know the truth. How many people have really benefited from free SHS? If it happens that the number of people who have benefited from free SHS is less than what the previous government has communicated to Ghanaians, then the number of people, the difference, they should be made to pay for.
Yeah.
That is my first point. The next point he also made note of is that he said, as part of his agenda, Haruna Idrisu announced plans to convene a national education conference to critically assess the state of Ghana's education system and develop actionable recommendations for reforms. So what I want to tell my brother Renoff is that he should relax. It's just a policy. For now, we don't know the in and out of the policy. We don't know whether there's going to be a cut-off point to enroll into the free SHS or not. So you can't just, for one or two reasons, just say that because free SHS was choked, meaning that the tertiary institution is also going to be choked. We should get to know what are the terms and conditions before you enroll. So that is one person. I think when they engage in this educational dialogue, that is when issues like this will be popped up for us to understand it more better. Okay. The other aspect of, he spoke on the issue of sustainability and sense or the need for you to enjoy free tuition for first year. I know we all have been in the tertiary institution.
Yeah.
If nothing at all, yes, I think this one has remembered me. The person who commented is my former NUCS president. Okay. Yes, Ifa Kwekutebe is my former NUCS, but also my course rep. Yes, because I was going to speak on NUCS matter, so I think I have to. So,
I like that angle because I was a NUCS person too.
Okay. So, as I was saying, when you go to university and the NUCS, we have what we call student loan. Okay. And when you go in as a first timer, when you apply, it's difficult to assess it because of the process you go through. But if you pay your fees, assuming you enjoy free tuition for the first period, at least you have sound mind. That's from my point of view, you have sound mind to undergo such process. So before you get to level 200, your student loan will be ready for you. Of which I know the previous government really did a lot, improved on the student loan. Yeah. So since they've improved on the student loan, I know this government is also going to work on it for students who enter the free tuition for the first year would also enjoy. On the other hand, we know how free tuition, the first year tuition for tertiary is very expensive as compared to
buying a lot of things. You're moving into school for the first time.
As compared to your second year, third year, and your final year. First year, you can pay more than 7,000, more than 10,000. People are paying even 20,000.
Yeah, but you know, speaking about that, around the time I was in school, there was a campaign about, it was called Fees Must Fall. So when the campaign went through and then the initiative was accepted, the fees we paid first year, I think it increased for the second year and then it stayed there till we finished. But at least, I think a few years after we completed university, then it's changed again back to increasing every year, because at that time when we came, what we realized was that every academic year, your hostel fees and your school fees would increase by a certain amount, maybe give or take 500 cedis or less. Yes. And
recently, it's been increased almost,
and now
almost 20-30%.
School fees and hostel fees have become so expensive.
Very.
So, I mean, on one hand, the free tuition for the first year, it can help. But then also, as we're asking, is it that feasible? Because even at our time, people were complaining, and at that time, it was less than 2,000 cedis for both.
And now, so, look at it.
Hey, doesn't mean I'm old, though.
So I think I was still making, speaking to this very issue. So I was saying that in as much as people are going to enjoy first year free tuition, we expect the policy, people are going to be involved or partake in that policy dialogue to actually look into this very matter. Okay. Let us know, is it really, is there going to be a cutoff point, or are they just going to start it right from now? Yes, we know the Minister for Education during his vetting, he said that they are going to pay those who have already paid their fees. That's what he said during his vetting. So the question is, when they engage in this dialogue, is it really going to be necessary? Is it going to be feasible for them to repay such people back the money, or they are going to take some time, or they are going to put some kind of things in place? So these are the things we expect to hear from the Ministry of Education and them. And notwithstanding, there are a lot of things we expect in the Ministry of Education, Yaira, especially our basic school. I for that one, it's something I have to really. Our basic school are not in a good state
at all. It is
currently
terrible.
People are still learning under trees. People are still. I know some places that
one teacher teaches about 6 classes.
Yeah, one class. Let's say one structure. Yeah. We have 3 classes: class 1, class 2, class 3. They are in one building, and as you said, one teacher is teaching them. And the question is, why will you forsake the very foundations and concentrate on the top? Once the Bible says when the foundation is destroyed, what can a righteous do? So I want to appeal to the Minister of Education that he should equally take a critical look at our basic education. Because the issue now is when people take their kids to whatever private school they will attend, at the end of the day, they enroll to free SHS. And they go to the government senior high. So why don't we make the basic school very attractive for them to easily access it? When you go to other countries, the government basic schools are the ones you will love your kids to go. You will love your kids to be, not the private schools. But when you come to Ghana, the story has turned.
And even with the issue of the basic schools, there are also allegations that because of the free SHS and the fact that the powers that be want to give this impression that the free SHS is actually working, the quality of education is not as high as it used to be before free SHS started, hence making them just churn out everybody. So people don't make very good grades, but they are getting school placements, they are getting admissions to the university. So in a situation like this where this large number is churned out just to fit an agenda, allegedly, how then does that work?
Let me speak before you come in this. You see, this policy, free SHS, serious, it's a policy. I would say very good policy, but its implementation it should have been looked at critically. You see, today I think Renoff made a point that are they going to push all the free SHS people to university? So initially the previous government should look at, are you going to push all the JHS students to free SHS? That is what they've done. Those days, I was thinking there's going to be a cut-off grade.
Yes, because I remember there used to be cut-off.
Now you have people getting grade 45. They are in school. People getting grade 50. They are in school.
And they need to
they can repeat to better their grades.
Is it because you just want them to be in school? That is my first question. Is it because, as people say, because it's a political promise, you want to fulfill that? That is another point. Because when you look at the kind of graduates we are producing from free researchers, I stand to be corrected. The quality is
it's quite low. But then, you see, Randolph was trying to say that everybody still needs to go to school. But if we are saying everybody needs to go to school, repeating to redo and better your grade is not a crime. It is not a sin. You cannot, if my ward sits their buttocks down, learns, gets is it 7-1s or 9-1s or whatever, all the grades, a very good grade, and their colleague also gets 5 and then gets to go to school and be competing for the same spot, it is unfair. Aside the fact that there is little access to learning material and the rest, but I'm talking about the effort put into it, because you were even talking about private schools and then they go into the government schools in free SHS, that's the senior high school. Now, private schools, you are getting value for money. I went to a private school. So the kind of things you learn, it's of very high quality as compared to the government schools. And of course, there are issues relating to from the teachers and everything. But this is talking about the fact that the students have become lazy. Let's be honest. Corporal punishment has been taken out of the system. So even now, that vigor, that stress we used to undertake, go through to learn for BEC is no longer there. They've become very lackadaisical.
Let me come in here. When it comes to issue of education, there are 3 people who takes responsibility. 1, the teacher is there. The teacher's responsibility is to make sure he impacts knowledge on the student. 2, government responsibility. It is government's responsibility to produce the needed resource available within the school for the student and the teacher to get the comfort to be able to do what? Go through education. And then the parent's responsibility. We often leave that out. And when it comes to the issue of indiscipline, whatsoever, and in the where people have used that to fight the policy. Free education, I always say it's a novelty program. But then it's a novelty program. Yes. But then I will always oppose people who says that one, there should be a cutoff point.
There should be.
I'm coming. Let me make the point. It will not be fair if there is a cut-off point for students. This is because Ghana is not Accra. Ghana is not Kumasi. And Ghana is not any of the capitals. If you have been to the trenches and if you've been to places where even access to even a road network, where the child will even get access to even where he has to go and learn is not available, you understand that if that child goes to sit in the same exams being written with AIS student, being written with Alphabeta and whoever student, and the child gets 30%, that child should not be denied education.
No, that is not the point I was trying to make.
My point that I want to make is that if you go to certain places, I had a chance to work in the Bono region, Doma East, for instance, per se. From at that level, if you look at a child in a town or a village called Tetetoma, where the child have to walk virtually almost 2 hours to get access to classroom, and that child goes to write the same BEC where somebody have opportunity in Accra here. All the children have all the tablets, they have all even the digital platforms, they have even access to electricity. And those places, when you go to those places, the child there is not even lights, there is not even internet connectivity, but the child managed to, score some within the exams.
Yes, and that's the point.
And if you sit in Accra, I'm coming. If you sit in Accra, and if a government sits in Accra and says because that child got a grade 40, and so that child should stay, there should be a cutoff point for him to be repeated. There are children who actually go to even class with no food, with no even footwear. And such person, the only encouragement in that child's mind
is for the person to go to school.
Yes, but you see, Clement was making a point that the basic schools, there are schools and
that is government's responsibility.
Yes. So now, government should focus on, constructing these schools for people. Because the people I'm talking about are the ones who it's free.
No.
That is what I'm talking about.
I'm coming. The point I also want to make is that for a child to be, the free education thing, for instance, we have schools like Peters, Big Girls and all those big schools. Ever since free education came, have the teachers there been moved out and inferior teachers being to the school? No. The only advantage the children got was that if under normal circumstances there were A-class and A-class schools and schools that were supposed to have been meant for C-class or citizens, these children would have only had a chance to only the C classes. But then the policy was just to make sure that even though looking at the child's background and looking at where the child is coming from, it is not always the best to leave him in the C class. At least you mix.
So what makes the school a C class if not for the development and then adding resources? Because all these schools can become A class schools.
That is there. But then in order to make some schools or some children, there are some children who went to school. And suppose C class schools, and they were made to come to the A class school and they were performing. They performed very well. So to the extent that some even had a chance international quiz and maths competition.
Yes, Clement.
Before Clement comes, just a moment. Before Clement comes, there is also another leg. The responsibility of parents. Parents have neglected their responsibility and expecting the teachers to take their responsibility. But then in 21st century, the teacher can always not go to school with cane and like branches of trees to beat a child. It is you, the parent, whose responsibility to make sure you discipline your child and put the right virtues in the child. And when the child goes to school, she will perform, or let me say, she will be disciplined in school. Sure. Instead of you relegating the teacher is in school purposely. I mean, instill, how do I call it? Knowledge, not to beat children there. And that policy, I actually second to it.
Okay. So yes, Clement.
Yeah, so I'll just touch on, Renoff made mention of three things. And the last thing he mentioned was about the corporal punishment and teachers' role. I remember in my schooling, I schooled at Shama District. So as Honorable Emilia, that's why I schooled. So in Chaban specifically, I had one teacher. Actually, he was my uncle. He's called Mr. Clement Akon. One day I did something in class. And how this man lashed me. I'm making a point.
Okay.
After the lashes, I took a lesson from it. I told myself, whenever this man comes to class, I'll make sure I'm on top of my games. He was teaching us pre-tech.
Yeah.
I will be on top of my games. Because even if he's doing exams and I get less than 70%, this man will still lash me. So I always make sure I get a pass mark. So you see, that kind of, one, it's a fear. Two, it puts me on my toes to study more. And here I am today. Currently, he's an assemblyman. So whenever I see him, I'll be like, he has really helped me to be who I am. On the expert, he spoke on people are in a village and they need to walk for miles before they get to school. For that reason, you can't deny them of, let's say, their education, specifically free SHS. So I was so happy he made mention that it's the government's responsibility to provide them with resources. So I stand to be corrected. The previous government should have really known that we have some institutions or some schools down there, or some communities even don't have schools. Some communities don't have schools. So what am I supposed to do?
Free SHS. So
let me get these community schools. People are walking to schools for miles. What can I do to help them? Can I supply them with bicycles? Aside Shamam, where I really grew up, we have an NGO. They used to supply the students with bicycle because they realized the distance from the house to school was so long. So they supplied them with bicycle. They were going to school with bicycle. It's an NGO. So the issue is, if you realize that students can't get to school on time, for that reason, when they get any marks at all, you are supposed to just let them go to school. I think that one is
no. Some are actually doing well. It's not easy out there.
Let's
not easy out there.
Land.
Yes.
Okay.
So that one, I think, it's not right. So one, the government responsibility for providing resources need to be championed. So as I said, Ministry of Education, they have a lot of work, to do. So government responsibility.
That is why the other government was voted out.
To champion the government provision of resources need to be looked at critically. On the aspect that he made mention of the cut-off points we shouldn't introduce. We know in our tertiary institution there's cut-off points. When you are going to you can't not even graduating. You can't go to tertiary with some grades. You can't go with F9. I think F9. You can't go to tertiary. That's why there's no deck. When people after school they realize that either C6 or something, some schools you can't go there with some grades. You have to go right. You can't do medicine with some grades. You can't go.
So wait.
So I don't really understand the point he was trying to.
Doctor attending to you had F in chains in all his academic work and he was still made to be. Would you trust his expertise?
No, you're actually deferring the point. You're actually deferring from the point.
Well, I would like to remind our viewers that the phone lines are open, so please call and deflect the heat going on here. It's mainly about our ministerial appointments, but it has turned into an education conversation.
But it's very important discussion we have.
So the phone lines are open. Please do call and send in your messages as to what your hopes are, your expectations for the ministerial appointments are as well. And if any of them is lying, please call and...
So, no, maybe. Indirectly, if let's say Renov is making a point that people are from far, distance to school is very far, so any grade they get, they should go to free researchers. People will also say that yes, some SHS schools don't have the infrastructure, some SHS schools don't have what they need, the resources. So anybody who graduates from SHS should equally move into tertiary. By the time we realize, we'll be producing doctors with nothing. We'll be producing accountants with nothing.
Yeah.
We'll be producing parliamentarians with doing political science with nothing. So we need to restructure the education system. We need to really look at it very well, and make it more attractive. And let's see the education system that Ghanaians want to have. That is what I want to say.
So with what you are even saying about the fact that there are certain students who have to travel miles away. I mean, now
don't even have access
now we are
at
in
all.
a digitalized. We are having a digitalized system where it is very possible to keep a database of brilliant but needy students, and then the database of students who are just not interested. If we have that, yes,
we haven't
and then these
there.
students, because of the lack of resources, are not doing very well. Maybe some initiative can be taken for them. Because look, having students go to school with just about any grade is not fair to those who actually try. This is based on the students who are just passing through because, yes, free SHS, maybe I'm missing Minko school, maybe. This is different from those who don't have access to resources. Those who don't have access to resources, if the database is created, then the NGOs, the generous people out there can actually come out to help. We've had all kinds of organizations come to build schools sometimes and things like that to help the situation. But there needs to be a cutoff point. If you fail, you repeat. Because free SHS is, you see, there's this saying, they say God when, not God anyhow. Free SHS doesn't mean anyhow graduates. It should be a quality graduate. That's all we're asking for. At
least, for me, every Ghanaian young person should at least attain at least senior high certificates. At least, with no restrictions. There are students who probably, I mean, there are people who go to class, they are very brilliant, but when it gets to exams, they may not perform well.
Exactly.
And such a child or such a student, you do not have to condemn that person.
Yes. Now, this comes back to providing resources.
No, for the problem,
because
that is why...
are dyslexic.
See,
some students
the
names are
the challenge itself, honestly, the challenge in our education system is huge. And it comes from the root. It didn't start now. Our successive governments, about over 60-something years from our independence, we adopted an education system that we had no authority to control. And it is actually impeding our progress. If we truly want to do it, and I believe that is one of the reasons why the previous government, I mean, their policies, I think they brought in these TVET programs and actually were doing so many reforms in order to even the primary level had to even be digitalized and a whole lot. I mean, they were doing well until they were demoted. So I expect that President Dramani Mahama, after attaining this authority, we are hoping that all the good policies that the previous government were actually they were implementing, it should be taken care of, and also policies too should be looked at. The monies that are going to be given to the free tertiary should be taken back to the primary level, and then the grassroots to prepare. There are a lot of trees and schools under trees. They need that money.
All right, Kevin, let's take your final remarks and then we wrap up. Our time is fast.
Okay, because I think you are just wrapping up, and I love what Renov said last, that the money they are going to be invested in the free tertiary.
They should send it to the grassroots.
Why not the free SHS?
No, the free. They can even touch it.
Thank you very much. We will see whether we'll continue this conversation. Yes, Clement, your final remarks.
What I just want to say is that we want to see more from these ministers, especially those who have been sworn in. The 6 of them, of which yesterday most of them visited the ministries. We want to see action. because we don't need any other time again to be wasted, because the time is so limited. We want to see action from them, and we pray for more grace for them to do the work for us. It's only one Ghana that we have, so we want the best also as Ghanaians. That's only what I want to say. And I want to wish Accounting Student Association all the best, and thank you for watching Cocoa Digest all the time. Yes.
Yes, thank you very much. It has been a heated and insightful conversation with you, gentlemen, and it's always a memorable conversation all the time with you. Thank you so much for joining me here. A big thank you to you, our viewers. A big thank you to you, the commentators or commenters. A big thank you to management, production team, everybody that joined hands to make this show a success. We are most grateful. And a big thank you to EC Collections and Blazer World for setting us up nicely today. And a big thank you to you again, our viewers, and we wish you a wonderful weekend ahead.